Oh, hello everyone. Hello. How's everyone doing? How's everyone feeling? Hello, Ethan.
Oh, hey dude, what's up? Sorry, I was had a toffee in my mouth. Yo, everyone, welcome to our
This guy
podcast.
eats
Hello again.
toffees.
Um, uh,
Disgusting. Disgusting. My guy.
okay,
Anyways,
okay.
I'm just here to mess with you. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Some stuff's gonna happen soon, so kind of
Soon?
preparing for that.
What stuff is gonna happen soon?
Oh, dude, the shoots.
What shoots? I'm not aware of any shoots.
Oh my, never mind.
What? What? Who lied to you? Who lied to you?
Yes. Okay, let's just move on. So, what did we talk about last week? What was our last podcast about again? Do you remember?
How do you not remember your own last podcast? So just to get everyone a little bit caught up. Hi, I'm Motsiba, and this is Ethan, aka Skydrift, and we're both filmmakers. Yay! This is our podcast, and let me just adjust the levels. Yeah. So this is our podcast, and last week we spoke about Oh, I actually also forgot. Damn! It's because you asked me. I know what we spoke about, but now you have to tell me what.
If you knew what we were talking about, then what did we talk about last week?
We spoke about film and how the differences between shooting old-fashioned film and film now. Yeah, and then we spoke about like the different film directors and like their different styles. We spoke about Martin Scorsese. We spoke about Quentin Tarantino, and then we spoke about also about criticism and all that shitty shite. Yes.
Took you a while
Yes.
to get
Yes. No, it didn't take me a while.
there.
Okay, I just remembered.
Saying I don't remember shit, but then you can't do it either.
Yeah, I did it. I spoke.
We are amongst the hypocrite here.
No, we are
Everyone?
not amongst it. Oh, who's the one who spoke though? That's the thing.
Both of us did.
No.
Both of us did.
Don't try to add that both of us did. I'm the one who said what we spoke about. You just sat there and listened to me speak.
No, you said that he didn't even know we spoke about
Yeah,
last
I
week.
said, and I still stood. I backed my claims. You still don't know what we spoke about. I said what we spoke about. So yeah, do you wanna tell us, Ethan, the current state of the film?
Well, again, we are still in post production. We're getting closer to. In fact, getting. We're still a ways off because like we've said before, it can be difficult to kind of reach and communicate with people during lockdown in some ways. So, we wish it would have been further along at this point. However, some people will have issues with communication. Like, for example, some people may have really, really crappy internet, or they're working on slow machines. So, I will say this:
Yeah, it's kind of
It's taking
difficult.
a bit longer than we would have liked to.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult editing during these lockdown periods because beforehand our campus would have given us the means to go into town and edit whenever we feel like it, but now that like lockdown, we have to have special permissions to go into town and to go into like campus and to do that all that jazz. It's getting extremely difficult to actually edit and have everyone in the edit room at the same time.
Yeah, especially since our first and second years are back at campus.
Yeah, so campus is a bit crowded and there's a lot of people on campus and all that jazz. So we're trying, like, at the moment, yeah, we are trying to kind of get people together and get the film done. But it's proving very difficult. But now we have reshoots that are coming up. So in these reshoots, what we're doing is essentially
Don't give away too much. Just
No, we're picking up. So on set, we missed the. Well, okay. Let me not say we missed. On set, after the edit, the first edit, we realized that there's some small details that we need to kind of put in to make the story more believable, and that's what we're currently doing at the moment. We're getting those small stories in there and trying to make the film more believable. So it's just like nitpicky things. And with those small nuances that we have to get sorted, it does require us to again go out and like even though we're shooting for 1 day, it's still a shoot, and therefore we still have to get fork off that cash, get the cash in, and all that stuff, and it still costs. Um, and also getting equipment as well, since we can't get the same camera that we shot with, because now the degrees are shooting. Like, this is a whole nother year group, and then like because the second years are also shooting at the same time, we also have to kind of juggle that as well. So now we've found ourselves in a very very sticky situation, but we are pulling through and actually getting this film done and getting these shots that we need, crucial shots, in order for the story to continue. Yeah. Ethan?
right. I, well, everything you had just heard from Mods. I think we should just jump right into it now.
Of course, let's go. Let's just jump right into it.
All right, now let me ask you a question. About a week ago, the trailer for Monster Hunter released recently. Did you see it?
Oh, wait. I didn't watch the trailer. I saw that the trailer was out. I didn't watch it. I
Well,
didn't watch the trailer, but I saw it was
well,
out.
just like with all sort of movies based on video games, there's always going to be some sort of disconnect, or it doesn't really
Mm.
seem like it takes much of the source material. But that does make the question: what do you expect from an adaptation like that, personally?
From personally, I haven't played the game, but I know about it, and I know
I
that
just in general, like any general game adaptation, what do you look for? Let's say any game, like anything you can think of
anything
that you enjoy.
from a video game adaptation. So, what I look for is um what do I look for? I look for the characters. I want to see if the characters are authentic. Maybe looking for storyline. I kind of do the same thing that I do with comic book adaptations. Looking for storyline, looking for characters. If the characters and the storylines match up, then I'm happy. I don't, and also I'm not too picky on if the characters look to the part. Um, they have to look somewhat similar, but they don't have to look exactly 100%. That's dead on. That's what they look at. Like, that's what they look like.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Okay, so that because I can't I remember okay, like a few days ago I was playing Bioshock, and it reminded me of this other video this guy used to be subscribed to made
Which Bioshock? The first one.
the first one.
Ooh, that one's
And
also nice.
the name of the video was A Cure for Wellness, the Bioshock movie we never got. After watching the video, it turns out that the guy who made A Cure for Wellness, he was actually set to make the Bioshock movie, because like around I think 2 years after the first game was released, there were
Mm-hmm.
plans for a motion picture, and it seemed cool. But of course, when it comes to any sort of movie set, things go bad, and they can the project on account of,
Naturally,
I'd rather have no movie made of this game rather than a
a
really
movie made
bad
of.
one.
Why?
Well,
Why?
you wanted a bad movie made of something you love. Because I think even the director of the game felt that way as well. Like, let's all just can the project. Like, it looks like it's going to be really bad. His name's Ken Levine, and I kind of feel that way. Like, I think as children, we always think, "Oh gosh, there should be a movie of this wonderful game, this wonderful book. We should that I
Yeah,
played or read. Oh, there
when
should
I
be a
was a
game of this
kid.
wonderful movie I've seen." But that's more of a childhood thing. Like, I think we can all be satisfied with things being in the medium they are, but I think it does bring up a big question. Like, what do we expect from video game adaptations? I've been thinking about this, and I don't think this is a very new thing. Like, I think we've all
Mm,
discovered why a lot of video game movies are bad, and that is because different mediums. You can't translate one thing one to one. You don't
mm,
judge. You don't judge a painting. You don't judge a film the same way you judge a painting or piece of music. And there's that whole thing like they work in different mediums, so only certain things can work in film,
In
and
film,
some
and
people may
certain
think
things can
that.
work in like cinema, and certain works can work in books and stuff. Yeah, I get that. Like, just to go back on what you said, being a kid, I also would have loved many games to be a movie. Especially, I thought also Bioshock would have been a good movie. I never knew that they were thinking of making it an adaptation. Did you hear that? I was like, I didn't think that they would make it. That they were considering making it an adaptation, but I did want. I did want the move like a movie of that game. Same as oh, what is this? Dishonored. When I played it, I wanted a
Ooh,
movie. Just imagine a Dishonored movie.
wow.
Um, what else? Um, damn.
Well, I
But
think
yeah,
when you
I'll
when you
think
get when
some.
you're
I'll think
child
about some.
when you're a child, you can have an overactive imagination. Like I remember, I think I didn't finish Crisis 2, but I first like played it for a little bit, and I thought, gosh, this would make such a cool movie, the story of Crisis 2. But then you realize but then I realized it just a basic ass generic sci-fi movie, and
Yeah, I mean,
without
yeah.
the
As
whole
you grow up, you realize that that's what it would essentially be.
yeah, um, and of course something I like what you said, like I think when it comes to the idea of like Dishonored, I think whenever because you can't take things one to one, you can. I think spin-offs can make a better ideal for like what could be a some a video game adaptation. Like how do I say this?
So
Take parts
spin-offs as in let me just try to get this. As in like they take the same characters, the same universe, and they just make a different story, an alternate story.
or no. I wouldn't say that. I'd say they would take an aspect of that media
Mm-hmm.
and then make a story out of that.
Oops, my internet. I'm so sorry. Sorry for that. I kinda, yeah, sorry.
Okay. As I was
But
saying,
continue.
in Dishonored, they have a DLC where you actually play as the villain who killed the Empress in the beginning. Now, and that's what I
Wait.
mean by spin-off.
I
What's up?
wait. I'm just thinking about the DLC. Is that the one? That's not the one with the that you play with the chick with one eye. Is it that one? Because I remember that there was a DLC like that.
Um, well, there's actually a spin-off game called Death the Outsider. You play as Billy, but I'm just talking, which I guess that's technically a spin-off game as well. But if I go back to the DLC, in the DLC, you play as Dowd. He was the assassin who killed the Empress, and so that's what I mean by spin-off, because you can take something that may translate from a game that may translate better into something outside of the game, into a
Hmm.
different medium. And I think what makes the video game adaptation so difficult, like I said, you don't judge them the same way. They're meant to work in aspects. They're meant to work in their own mediums specifically for that. Like if you write a comic book, you do things that only a comic book could do well, or you do things that only you could do in a book. And how do you
Hmm.
translate like walking through a long corridor, just fighting mobs over and over again into a film? How do you take that into? How do you put that? You can't translate that one to one in a film. And what do you
I
do?
mean,
It's going to be difficult to make this seem like that. This is going to sound like a lecture, but I have an idea. What you do is you change things, you adapt things, you make things different. This isn't a good example. This isn't an example of a good video game adaptation, but I do think this kind of gets my point across. Did you see the Ratchet and Clank movie?
no, I have not seen the Ratchet and Clank movie. I
Okay,
kind of steered
well,
away from that because I didn't like. I played Ratchet and Clank, but I wasn't a huge. Oh wait, maybe I did. I actually did. Oh yes, I did. It came around about the time with the Angry Birds movie and all that jazz. Now I watched it. I watched it a long time ago.
well, yeah. You don't have to change things. You can't translate them
Yeah,
one
I
to
get
one
what
because and take aspects that work. Gosh, I had the perfect analogy for this, but
I get what you mean
um,
by the one-to-one aspect. Like, because Ratchet and Clank is more of a game that you would go around and you'd go slap people around, mobs just go fight, 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 and then you get like the movie. How do you translate that? But then again, like in movies, they want to focus more on the story. So if you have a good story, if Ratchet and Clank had a good story, then you can actually just
Well,
focus
it's
on that.
actually, here's the thing though. It's not about whether the story is good or not. It's whether the story is translatable. For example, it's difficult to make a it's difficult to make a movie about Ratchet and Clank and make it feel like it. So what do you do instead? Instead, you adapt a
What
game
do you
that has a
do?
movie which will translate better into a film. Maybe have one which is a game which is less gamey and a lot more. I don't know what the word is. Maybe traditional. Take for instance,
Mm.
I think The Last of Us. It's the story of The Last of Us. It's something that could translate fairly okay
Into a movie
into a
adaptation.
video format. Yeah, like it would be kind
But
of
but
something like
but
Children of
again,
Men, or maybe.
the Last of Us is the same as in Uncharted and stuff like that. It's actually like I feel that games like that have a video game. They have a story. They have like an adventure story. They have a clear cut story. It's not going. It's not like Ratchet and Clank where it's just fighting bosses, doing puzzles and stuff. It's actually a story based game. Like there's a clear cut story. That's why I think it would be more successful. Like this Uncharted movie that's coming out with Tom Holland. Yes, there is high hopes for it. I think it's going to be a good movie because Uncharted has so many games and so many of the games like display being a story so well. You know? That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. But Uncharted, again, Uncharted is a really good example of something that like I haven't seen the movie. Or I don't even know if the movie will come out, but I know that Uncharted is going to be a good movie. Jimmy, how you doing? Lava pancakes, how you doing? We're just talking about video games.
What up, guys?
And video game adaptations. Continue. Let's go.
Here's the thing though. Like, you know how in a previous podcast I mentioned that. Sorry, how I mentioned in a previous podcast that we can't make films we can't make films about a certain movement while we're in the middle of a movement. We need perspective. I mentioned this about COVID films and about war films. Like you don't make World War One movies within World War One and expect it to be good and nuanced or or contain the full picture.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking, maybe like I don't think we should stop trying to make video game adaptations because I think that one good one is out there. I just think that we're looking at this all wrong. I think, and this has been shown to actually work in more recent times because, and I think, a reason we've been able to see what I'm about to say is because of streaming services. Video games translate better into a narrative series format than a film format. Now, I understand why people in the past wouldn't have wanted to do that. A lot of games into adaptations, a lot of them felt like cash grabs, and they were put into movies because movies have good
example.
turnover.
Give an example of a video game adaptation that was converted into a cash grab.
No, I think that's the idea about a lot of them.
Oh,
like
okay.
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure a lot of people only watch the Resident Evil movies because
oh my word,
movies,
oh my
word.
No, the Resident Evil movies looked so shit. It looked so far away from what Resident Evil was. Like I don't know, dude. It just looked so janky and not nice. But they made how many did they make?
Like 7, maybe.
Why do you make so many?
I could be wrong. It could have been like 5, but still, it's just an IP to them.
Again, why so many? The games are like literally so different. In my opinion.
Yeah, so that's the idea of a cash grab, and I think that because it takes more money to make. Actually, it does take more money to make a series, but there's a lot more risk when making a series than making a movie. So, and also, what public network would want to have a series based on a video game on public TV? Like, would SABC really want a series of Resident Evil playing on SABC 3?
Like, I can understand if it was an animated series. Then, like,
that
okay, make more sense. But then, if it's an actual movie or like an actual live series, I don't think, or like back then, I don't think anyone would take. But I like what you mentioned about modern technology and these modern ways
Services.
to consume to consume media.
Yeah, like take Netflix for example. We're more willing to have these risks and actually have these adaptations put out there into the public
Mm,
because a lot of people have more money. There are a lot more tools. Things are cheaper to make, and a lot more people are watching it. And it shows that a lot more fans are willing to see media they make. Take
mm,
Netflix for example. They have both Castlevania and Dragon's Dogma. While they may be animated, they're both IP. They're both video game IPs. And this is a bit of an outlier, but take The Witcher, for example. Now, The Witcher, yes, it's based on books. However, a lot of the fan base was attracted to
attracted
the
from to the
story of
game.
The Witcher from
Yeah,
the games, exactly.
it's like
Now,
me. I fall
I
under
don't
that.
think that I don't think that the series itself it's like the gold standard. I don't think it's an amazing series that everyone needs to watch. It's serviceable. It's good. And I think that is kind of like a stepping stone to where we are, to where they become to that level. I mean,
Yeah,
again, the books,
I
but
agree.
it still has a lot of the fan service from the games itself. Like the look of Geralt, I do think that I'm pretty sure the silver hair is the same thing, but if someone knows about the books, please correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. But I do think that the look from the games and Geralt in the book, I think it's described differently. Like maybe he's older in the books. I
Mm.
could be wrong, but there is still that fan service from the games, even though it's based off a series of books.
I do think that The Witcher is actually a very well example of a modern day adaptation of a video game, because from playing the first Witcher and not playing like the second or third one, I actually felt that The Witcher kind of stayed true to the whole combat, the feel of the game. Although they changed some things for storytelling purposes. I mean, you can't get everything correctly. And
Mhm.
being a filmmaker now, I understand why things are changed because they don't relay properly or nicely thematically um in the in the series format than it does in the video game format. But again, it's such a good example of staying true to the character, like staying true to the theme and the feel of The Witcher. In my opinion, I feel like
Yeah.
that's a really good example. And also they did it in the series. They did it episodically. They did it in a series type of thing. Um, yeah, I feel like that allows the creative team to actually kind of think about what they want to put into the series, have a nice step by step process to actually getting to the end product, which is the actual series itself.
All right. If anyone is familiar with any of the games and would like to give you the 2 cents, tell me, do you guys feel that the Witcher TV show had a good balance between what it kept from what you know and from how much it changed?
Mm,
Because when you make an adaptation, you're gonna have to change things. But when it comes to a
exactly.
game, you have to change a lot more than if you were adapting it from a book. Damn, I shot the bed again. Because you can't keep everything, but and sometimes I think things aren't even worth making. Like, let's take back to the Monster Hunter book. You see, Monster Hunter movie. You see, the thing about Monster Hunter games, from what I know about them, is that the story is very loose because it's one of those games where they don't focus much on story, where gameplay is the actual meat of it, which I think all games should be. But making a movie of it, you can see how much they changed and how much they would have had to change. It was obviously necessary. But here's the thing. I find it so weird and I find it kind of pointless to even make an adaptation in the first place because if you know anything about Monster Hunter is kind of like Pokemon. The story is that loose and it's about monsters. The meat is about a nameless individual who fights and collects monsters or creatures or something. It's exactly see, that's Monster Hunter is like Pokemon, and you can't make a Pokemon movie. I've never seen Detective Pikachu, but that movie just looks crap. Like I'm never gonna watch Detective Pikachu unless I wouldn't watch it sober. That's what I'm saying.
Detective. I haven't seen Detective Pikachu as well, but I think
Can
it's
we
just
check out what?
yeah.
Uh
Let's check what Lava Pancake said. Do you wanna
huh.
read it for us?
Sure. This is from a website. Game Geralt is a far cry from the book Geralt in terms of appearance. In the books, Geralt is described as being skinny with an ugly smile and an unpleasant voice. With his pale skin, loose white hair, and dark threatening eyes, this Geralt is someone we can see NPCs calling insults at. Ah, That's a good point. Like it shows that there can be a disconnect when wanting to make things look attractive. Like
Mm.
Geralt in Witcher 3, he's a handsome O. Like why would you like he's a handsome O, so it seems maybe a bit less convincing that people would hold insult at him because I mean yeah, he's obviously a Witcher. People know he's a Witcher, but I think maybe you'd be a bit more charismatic. He seems a bit more charismatic and you'd be a bit more fair to people who are handsome. In Witcher and Geralt 1 in Geralt in The Witcher 1 seems more fitting to this description that Lava just made from the website because and this is probably just like graphics as well,
Mm.
but Geralt in The Witcher 1 looks ugly. Look him up. He does not.
I think
He
I
looks
think
so weird.
I think again why they did that change is because during like the time that this game came out, I don't think they wanted to have their main character be unattractive. You know, they wanted it. I feel like they went with the idea that because he's a witcher, that's why he's being insulted by everyone around him. Because again, people don't like they dislike witches and all that jazz. But um, and like it's only recent that I've seen um like the main characters in a story not be attractive. Say for example, what is this? There's this game called is it Thief? Yeah,
Um,
Thief. The main character not that attractive. Again, that's one example I can think about. There's this other game about you play as an ogre troll, and it's called Stealth or something like that, or
Stick. I talk about sticks.
Stick. Is it Sticks? Is it?
Spelled with a Y.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
spelled
Yeah,
like
I think
they
it
play this
Sticks.
little troll dude. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so it's spelled with the Y. Oh yes, Sticks. That's the one where you yes Sticks. That's also another example of a video game character that's unattractive and you actually play as him and all that. He doesn't kind of fit. He doesn't fit the heroic qualities of being the video game hero. I
Mhm.
do think that again recently I've been seeing a lot of that. I've been seeing a lot of characters where the main character again is not doesn't fit the heroic you know mold.
Because you don't want to play good guy all the time.
Exactly. You don't have to.
Um, Now, if I may, I want to bring the conversation back to what we spoke about earlier, if that's cool. Um, in this idea about Bioshock and a cure for wellness, now I saw the movie. I saw the movie recently just to do some homework, and I totally see where the guy comes from. I wouldn't 100% agree with him, but if you guys have seen the movie, you'll see that it deals with some similar themes, a little bit of similar production value, where everything looks old. There's a lot of tiled floors. There's a lot of spooky, scary, moist things because again, the city of Raptors underwater. And
Hmm.
I think honestly, I would, and obviously Bioshock One's a lot more stylized. I'm thinking I would like to see possibly Bioshock some form of an adaptation.
Hmm.
I do, but I think I would obviously be sad because of how much they would have to change. Because again, it's not just a book to a movie; it's a game, which has to translate certain themes and certain themes, certain nuances, and certain mechanics and storytelling things that are specifically built for a game itself. Like, how do you translate the twist of Bioshock One into a series format where you don't have that agency as a player?
Wait,
And
what was just remind me again what was Bioshock One's twist
uh,
for those
I
who
feel like um, I'll just say, "Would you kindly?" I think that should be enough.
okay, that's not gonna remind me.
Oh gosh,
I
I might have to
don't
spoil it for the people watching.
well if you're watching and you haven't seen and you haven't played the Bioshock game, come back in 2 minutes or mute for 2 seconds and then if you haven't
Okay,
then
spoilers in five, four,
we
three,
have warned
two,
you.
one. Remember, "would you kindly" was the term used by the main character because to basically make him do anything, basically mind control him, because you find out that the main character was actually an experiment.
Oh
"Would you
yes,
kindly" was his actual word.
okay. Yeah, I remember now.
Okay, you guys can unmute now if you want. I guess if you muted, you wouldn't have heard that, but my point still stands. I think I would love to have seen the adaptation of Bioshock One because of how stylized it is. It's
Mm.
the early 1960s underwater, and I was also thinking about this. It wouldn't translate directly into a one-to-one format, and obviously you'd have to change a lot of things, like maybe have a prologue of Rapture before everything went down,
I
and
do
then
I do feel that and this might be like a corny um like movie to reference that could have done this that has a similar idea that they did. And the movie is have you seen the Fast and the Furious, the one, I think it's Fast and Furious 7? I'm not sure, where Dominic Toretto is kind of held captive, and he's like no, his family's held captive, and he has to play for the other side, and he's the bad guy, right?
I haven't.
So
If when it comes to Fast and Furious, you're gonna have to
yeah.
like
So
explain
okay,
everything.
okay. So what
Honestly,
happens?
part of Tokyo
What
Drift. That's
happens?
all. That's
What
all.
happens is in the beginning of the film, um, we see Dominic Toretto, and he's with his family and whatnot, and then it cuts to the rest of the team, and the rest of the team are like trying to stop Dominic Toretto from whatever, whatever they do, there's always like a big heist or something like that. They're trying to stop him, and this time Dominic Toretto is playing in for the bad team, essentially. And you find out later in the story that he's not actually evil, and that he was put up to it. Like, they had his family and all that, they had his baby, and he had to play for the other side. And then you secretly find out that there's a twist, and that he was never actually really bad. So I mean, you could have that. That was like, although the like Fast and the Furious stories are like all cars driving, crashing, whatnot, I always thought that that specific moment was so good and so well done, in my
So
opinion.
classy.
Yeah,
All right.
so that twist is a very well done twist.
All right. Um. Okay. I guess if I were to do a Bioshock One adaptation, what's
Yeah, I
Fast and
mean,
Furious?
you don't have to, but I mean, that's one example that you can use for a twist. But there's many creative ways you want to do it. Lava Pancake said something in chat. Do you want to read it for us, Aiden?
She just said that she was playing the Witcher games with Roots, and that she's just saying that they really enjoyed it.
Ah,
They didn't see read the books, but that's where they have
yeah,
their
same. Like,
their music
again,
from.
kind of falling under the same idea as what I did. I also played the Witcher games, and
Right.
never read the book, so I kind of feel the same way.
Mm.
Um, so
When it
yeah,
comes to wait, no, you go.
no, I was gonna say no, just carry on, Fine.
I was gonna say that if you wanted to make a more traditional movie, like not having to make all those changes, like from the Bioshock universe at all. I haven't played the second one, but I do think that the story of Bioshock Infinite actually fits better in a traditional movie format than Bioshock One does, because
Yes, Bioshock Infinite was so good. And the twist in Bioshock Infinite, again, really, really well thought out. So, I mean, you could do that kind of thing in
yeah,
Bioshock.
that'd be a bit easier. I say easier in quotation marks, easier to translate into a movie. Because
Mm.
it's less about the mechanics itself and going from point A to point B. There is more of a story where you are actually an active player. Your agency means less in that movie. Also, there's time travel, so you could get like
Yes, dude.
Christopher Nolan or
I'm
Shane
thinking,
Torres to
yeah,
write
I
it.
was thinking a Christopher Nolan version of Bioshock Infinite. Oh my word, it's like Tenet, but like not.
I still have to watch
Oh
that.
no, I still have to watch it, but I'm waiting for. Actually, I might watch it illegally
Now I'm still
because
so like I don't know what the word is. Kind of peeved, but also impressed about how much you'd have to change to translate things, even though something's going to get lost in translation. Like with the
mm,
idea of if you were to make an adaptation of Bioshock One, because I remember I've had this conversation with my brothers, and it was a pretty lengthy conversation. Now, not ideally. Now, on the surface, Dark Souls. Okay, hear me out. Hear me out. On the surface, Dark Souls is not something that you could translate to a visual medium because of if you know anything about it, the whole game is about like how
isn't
you
it?
don't.
Yeah, isn't it
The
just
game is
like
the
a
whole
hack
game
and
is about like how
slash?
everything is hopeless, about how the point of the game is that you struggle and struggle and struggle, so you can feel absolutely amazing once you finally overcome those goals. And that's with agency. And when you put that into story format, then that agency's gone. But here's the thing, though. I think with careful planning, it is completely possible. And I'm going to talk a long time about this, so buckle up, guys. Now, firstly, I think it would have to be made in a time when Dark Souls is less relevant. When From Software has finally released Elden Ring, and Dark Souls is something that can be played on your slot fridge.
Oh my
I think
word.
that obviously, you would really have to. I think where am I? What? I think Dark Souls is a bit like Lord of the Rings because you can't really spoil Dark Souls because Dark Souls is a game like Lord of the Rings where the world building is the story.
Mm,
It's deliberately vague about what happens in the story because it tries to build world building and you have to have the play interpret what's going on. Who is this NPC? Why does he talk like this? And then you go through his quest line and then you realize, oh snap, he did this. But why did he do it? Then you interpret.
mm,
Then you come up with stories. Then you get people like Ashen Hollow or Vati Vidya making 20-minute videos about this one guy's story or about why Gwen committed the first sin and linked the fire instead of letting it fade out. And
mm.
I think that you could have a silent protagonist. Again, you'd have to jump to a lot of hurdles to do this, but you could first make a disclaimer that this is one person's interpretation. The game is completely up to you. Recommend playing the game, but this is just one person's interpretation that happens to be funded by a large studio, where you actually start fleshing out certain characters and making the whole story about like how the main character loses themselves. And you incorporate NPCs dialogue and NPCs quest lines into the story itself, and you'd obviously have to omit bosses and stuff you'd probably have to try and shuffle things around and make things a bit more linear, even though the game
What I
itself is
what I think would be really good for a Dark Souls adaptation, and like the most iconic thing from the Dark Souls adaptation, like a Dark Souls game, is like you said, the combat. So I don't know how they would put the urgency in the combat. Like you said, um, that might get a little lost in translation. But again, following on the stories and focusing on good combat, I would say more single. Like I'm thinking something along the lines of, I want to say 47 Ronin, where you have the one character going in and fighting and all that. I want to say that, but not quite. And I want to say something like that, where you have main character traversing the landscape, right? Still world building. We're getting a little bit of Lord of the Rings, where you build the world. You have these different regions, and then you have the character going in and going to fight. I don't know what would you say? Like, okay, for a good story. Now I'm just thinking about it from a story point of view. For a good story to happen, you need a motivation for the main character. And I've never seen a movie that has been successful that doesn't have motivation for the main character. So what would the motivation for a Dark Souls character be?
well. Have you played the games?
No, I have not, because those games look difficult, and I don't want to be playing difficult games where I die all the time. I told you about my struggles with Sekiro.
Uh,
I'm not even gonna touch that game again. I swear to God, I will cry so
well,
hard if I
well,
have
your
to play
goal.
that.
Okay. Well, your goal in the game is actually obvious. You are meant to go to like the first flame to fight Gwyn, and you have a
Mm,
choice: either you make the fire or you let it fade. So that is already there. You already have that motivation, and they even have a little in every game they have an NPC called the Crestfallen Warrior.
mm-hmm.
Now you may ask yourself, why would you even link the flame? Like, why can't you just live out your life in complete sadness? Like it's completely hopeless. That's kind of the point. The game is meant to be hopeless. The story as well. Everyone's just depressed as hell, and you even have one NPC which kind of taunts you and kind of plays on the fact that some people will just rather just live in like this depressive state until they completely go hollow. That's the Crestfallen Warrior. You're kind of
Mm,
directly opposed to that because you play the game by actually being the one person or the one like a few of those people who actually tried to do something about this hopeless world. You just happen to be the person who will succeed at this because many have come before you. And so, like I said, you
So it'll
obviously
be
have to.
like what I'm seeing now in my film eye, right? I'm seeing some sort of training montage in the beginning as well. I'm seeing like the
Oh,
the
oh,
the
absolutely not. The
the
game's everyone
what?
is meant to be hopeless. Like there's no
So no,
there's no
but wait. Again. I'm thinking like this is concept thinking. The mentor. I'm seeing a mentor type of character, but it's not really like you said. It's the taunting type of character that doesn't. It's not really a mentor, but kind of fits that mentor role where it's because it's hopeless. It's an anti-mentor. I don't know what you call an anti-mentor. Like the opposite of a mentor. Lava Pancakes. Yeah, I would never play games like that. Dark Soul types of games. But what would you call an anti-mentor? So I'm seeing that type of character. I'm seeing one character going in, having to go do this long quest that countless of people have failed in because this main boss character has not been defeated yet, and they are taking the role to go defeat this character. Right? Am
Yep,
I?
yep.
Am I? And
Yeah, well, people have died at various points. They
mm.
haven't all died at that one guy's.
Yeah. At various points of the journey to get there. So yeah, now we have a. I'm seeing a Japanese type, like I'm seeing like those Korean movies. I'm something like a sad, because you said the world is all supposed to be like sad and depressing. I'm seeing that, and I'm seeing this video game adaptations is actually quite hard, especially
I think
making it relevant.
you have
Like,
to be fully immersed into the game itself
yeah,
before you can actually write it. I think that's why a lot of people miss the point with certain games. Like
I
they
do
don't
also
know
think
the
that as
source
well.
material. They haven't played the game themselves.
Exactly. I do think that the people that are making video game adaptations are people like me who have not played the game and want to get the money and then just say, "Oh, people are playing, what you call it, Dark Souls. Oh, let's make a Dark Souls video game." But yeah, and it also depends on how popular the medium is.
Yeah. But I think yeah, but I think the thing about Dark Souls is that because so many people have already made lore videos and stuff, this would just be a high budget adaptation of that. That's why I don't think it. I think it would work better and actually be more faithful if you made it long after Dark Souls was still a thing. You know,
Mm.
like I think it would be a lot more.
Yeah, I
It would
think
be less insulting if you did that.
I think when video games or when communities make lore based um like I would say lore
Just
based
like content.
content. So what I'm talking about and what is actually piquing my interest nowadays is the Riot is doing, and Riot is the owners of League of Legends. They have so many wonderful characters out there, and they're doing like mini shorts explaining the characters' worlds and stuff. I really enjoy that. I enjoy that, and for me, if there's a game like that that's big, and let's say also a Dark Souls game, um, I would 100% ask, like, suggest that they stay away um from live adaptations and should just stick to their medium of animated adaptations with any other video game or anything like that. I mean, you have your what would you say, your oddballs, your black sheeps, which are The Witcher, and The Witcher translates very nicely into a live screen adaptation, which is really good. But then you have your Resident Evils that don't kind of fit the bill that much, and you have your I don't know, I can't remember what other video game adaptation movies are there that was actually not that great. Um, but yeah, so you have those films that I personally think they should have just stayed in their respective animated format. You know.
Uh, I get you. But like I said, this whole thing about Dark Souls is that this is just what I'm thinking. Like you don't have to agree with me because I think a lot. I think I these this is what I would do if I was given the opportunity, and like I said, I'd make a lot of changes. There's still one which I was mentioning. Like
Mm.
the fact that you it's more about based on world building than an actual narrative. The main character would be nameless, and a lot of the NPCs that get on quest lines, sometimes you'd be interacting with them. For example, there's this one NPC called Black Knight Taurus I want to talk about.
Mm.
Um, and you go to a place called Sen's Fortress, and at the top of that, you fight a boss, and this boss is just like this huge suit of armor,
Mm.
basically. And what I would like to do is that the thing about a lot of these characters, they I feel like I have to explain too much, but let me explain this as well. You see, the undead curse in this game is that you can live forever, but every time you die, you lose a bit of your humanity. So you basically turn to like this husk that dehydrates every time you die, more and more and more, and
Mm.
you basically become like a zombie. You know, you lose all motivation. You become a husk. You become sad. You become a horrible. And there's this substance called humanity, and people use this substance in order to make themselves become human again. You know,
Mm.
so they don't become hollow. And a lot of the but humanity, it's a limited resource, so everyone's looking for it. You know, it's kind of like um like a drug that everyone needs. I think drugs are a bit too far, but you get my point.
I
And
do. I do.
turn you meet them when they're human, but as the game progresses and you do their quest lines, they become hollow, and they almost want to kill you for your humanity.
For your humanity. Ooh, that sounds good.
And
Um.
this
Yeah.
NPC, like when you fight the boss, you can actually use him to help you fight this boss. Because and I think the story goes in his way is that he kept trying to fight this boss as well, but he kept dying and dying and dying. So I think that if we were to adapt this, the main character would finally defeat the boss, but Black Knight Taurus, he would have died as well. And so you finally defeat him, and then you get to go to this new area after you defeat the boss. The thing is, though, because you're tying this NPC's quest line into the story itself and not just as something you have the choice of doing. What I would plan to do if I were writing this is that the main character, right before he goes to this new place, it would actually be to go to a place where he knew that Black Knight Taurus would have regenerated, say at a bonfire or something. And he
I
goes to that
yeah.
place and drops a humanity on in the place that he knows Black Knight Taurus would find it, and then he's walking back to the place, fade to black. So so in this
I
open
think.
world, the main character acted kindness
I
for
think.
someone whom the
Yeah.
players of the game would have known had a tragic backstory. And that's how you'd almost integrate quest lines into the story itself to make something more linear. That's what I would do if I was writing this.
I think you should write a fan fiction. What you call it? A your own fan script.
Do you know how long that would be? Each season would be a game, and oh gosh, that would be so long.
Dude. I mean, that's the thing. That's
Like
also
one
another thing.
episode
You
would
have
be,
to. You have to cut it down enough so that it doesn't get too long and boring for other people.
I guess.
You see,
I
that's why
really
it's like
did like the
really
idea.
difficult. Anyways, so yeah, that's why it's really difficult to actually do a video game adaptation. Lava Pancake says, wasn't there a Doom movie with Dwayne Johnson?
There
Um,
were two Doom
there were
movies, one
two
with The
Doom
Rock and
movies.
one made
Yes,
recently.
yes, yes. The first Doom movie had The Rock in it, and it had Carl. Was it Carl Urban? That's Butcher from The Boys.
Daddy's home.
Oh my word! That it looks already, judging from like the way it looks, it was so. Um, and I'm seeing like other gems out here that I forgot to mention. I'm seeing like Street Fighters the movie. I and like
The
fighting
90s were
games.
a lot of
Yes,
wasteland,
Street
bro.
Fighter. Was this Dead or Alive?
There
Mortal
was a Mario
Kombat.
movie. There was a Mario movie as well.
I don't even want to talk about the Mario movie. It doesn't even deserve to be in there. Then we have all the Resident cucks, all the Resident Evil cuck movies out there. But bring it back to Street Fighters and Dead or Alive and Mortal Kombat, which I think was a really good time for those movies to come out, is because they came out when kung fu movies were popular. You
Like the
know,
Bruce Lee's and
yeah, the Bruce Lees and all that
movies.
stuff. I do think if they at the end of the day were cuck movies, they still had their combat and all that stuff to fall back on. And that's how they would grip their audiences. Like, oh, it's a fighting movie. Even if they don't know it's a video game adaptation. Because I've seen those. I've seen the Street Fighter movies, and they are really, really cuck. Like they are beyond cuck because of like they're trying to add all these super like powers. You know how the Street Fighter superpowers that came in and all those special abilities, they don't even like do them properly. Then they like you have the makeup and the costumes and all that stuff, and it's all like it reminded me of Power Rangers and how Power Rangers looked. And Power Rangers is again very nice for kids and stuff, but if you had to make a whole movie out of it, very cock. You know, it's something. I don't think it aged well. That's in my opinion, huh?
There've been a few Power Ranger movies.
Yeah, like... Power Rangers didn't age well, in my opinion. It's literally just made for kids. Then we see going like through the list of adaptation. Like, wait, Dead or Alive is also a good example. Dead or Alive just reminds me of Charlie's Angels. So that's where it kind of can lay and be its own thing. It's Charlie's Angels mixed with some what do you call this, some kung fu-esque style movies. Then you see like the Tron movies. What do you think about Tron Legacy?
Tron wasn't based on any sort of source material.
No, Tron's a video game
in the universe of the movies, but there was no actual game of it.
I think that the way that Tron did it is very unique, and is one of the cases that actually is a very good movie. The VFX also kind of aged well. They did they thought of some new and innovative ways to do the VFX and how they did the cars and all that stuff, which is also pretty interesting. And also sits there in some really good adaptations of video games. Then we have the Max Payne movie. I don't know, dude. What do you think about them? Like, I played the Max Payne.
I've never seen the Max Payne movie. I've only seen like snippets of it, and I've never actually played. I've seen videos of the Max Payne game, but I've never actually played.
Have you never played Max Payne? Okay, just think about Max Payne as like the Punisher type of movie. Like, I remember Max Payne, the movie came out around about the same time as the Punisher movie came out. And this is the first Punisher, like, with, I can't remember the actor, but, like, one of the first early, visual adaptations of the Punisher, which was also a very, like, crime detective, punch-em, aggro movie, if that makes sense. So, I liked it, but I wouldn't bet my coins on it, and I don't think it aged well at all, and, yeah. We have and one of the movies that I enjoy was The Hitman, Agent 47. Guys, if there's any amazing fighter pre-John Wick movie out there, and that was Hitman, Agent 47. Some people might say, oh no, it's so trash and all that. Dude, I liked it. It was so good. Hitman, Agent 47. I don't know.
I don't think it was pre-John Wick, actually.
No, well, it's the closest thing that was pre-John Wick. What would you say it's more pre? Like, okay, let's not even say it's pre. What would you say it's more similar to during its time? I mean, for a video game adaptation that is like Agent 47, that is like the iconic Hitman type of visuals, Hitman type of ideologies and universe, kind of set in that universe after playing the games and stuff.
I'm not sure, because like I've never seen the movie. It looks like ass.
How have you? Why have you not seen it?
And I've never played Hitman either. Like Hitman doesn't interest me, so I can't really say anything about that.
Dude, strategy.
Yeah, so I really can't say anything about this. What do you think of the Assassin's Creed movie, like back in 2016?
Oh, I enjoyed it, dude. Assassin's Creed was good. In my opinion, I feel like I feel like they cut down a little bit. I feel like they cut down a little bit more on the story side, like from the video games. They didn't add as much as I wanted it to add, but it was the first, again, I will always have a soft spot for the first iteration of a video game movie. Such as Assassin's Creed. Like there's never been an Assassin's Creed type of movie or anything long formed like mini series or something like that, or short stories, anything like that from Assassin's Creed. I've only played the games, and from the games were really good, and the movie kind of captured something similar, but I wouldn't say it's exactly the same. And and the time that it came out was you said 2016, 20, like that was me in high school.
Around that time.
Around that time. That was like around about when Syndicate came out, or like Unity Syndicate, around about that time. I think it was pretty good. I think it came out during a nice time, and VFX in the film also well done. I didn't see anything like wrong with it, and like things like that. So it wasn't held back by its era and the technology. So I would say it's a pretty flies under the radar type of film. It's not too flashy. It didn't try too hard, and it also didn't like under deliver. It just gave like average amount of information. That's why I'm not gonna hate on it, and I'm not gonna say it's like the best movie in the world. It's not even like the worst movie in the world. It's just nah. Whereas films like the Resident Evil look shit, and Street Fighters shit because of the time it came out, and technology didn't allow it to be like really good. Anyways,
Okay, so I guess now we've, based on this whole conversation with Peter Beast is saying hi, I think we kind of had an idea of like what one things could be done to actually make our video game adaptations actually better. Only adapt certain stories, and honestly, what if you're newer to this, what more spin-offs and actual mainline stories?
yes, don't take the main story and main character, because there's so much you can like fuck up in that. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
Assassin's Creed didn't take Ezio. They took someone else. It's a spin-off, and it's so good because like you don't necessarily like group it in. Same as like what was this film? Um Flipping out, I actually forgot. But anyways, I'll remember just now. But we also have the Tomb Raider. Like I didn't. You have the first the Lara Croft Tomb Raider, and then you have the second one, the Tomb Raider that recently came out. Everyone was hating the recent Tomb Raider. I didn't like it. I watched it and I got really bored, and I was like, nah. I'm not gonna
not a
watch this.
studio. It's a big action studio movie. I think that's to be expected.
Mm.
Yeah, but yeah, guys, if you ever want to do that, do a spin-off if you can't do the main one, because I think doing a spin-off, it acts as its own thing in addition to what is already there in terms of the game itself. It becomes another
Yeah.
way to experience your favorite IP. I was thinking about this when you were streaming the other day, and you're talking about Mary Jane and
Mm.
other comic book representations. And I think it made me think of that Captain Crescent video about Watchmen. You see, when you make an adaptation or you change anything, it exists as its own thing, so it can still be respectful of its source material, but I think ultimately it can still exist as its own thing, and it should be judged accordingly. Um, like Watchmen the movie and Watchmen the comic, they're both good, but I think that if you
I'm
only
more
think
inclined to
of
read the
comics,
comics than to watch the Watchmen movie. But the Watchmen movie was good.
yeah.
I'm not saying it
Now
was
the thing is,
terrible.
if you gotta you think that it's best to judge things separately, because sometimes if you only judge things according to the source material, then you're kind of limited on what you're limited to critique and what you can create.
Mm.
And I think his exact quote from one of, I think it was the creator of the Watchmen comic, if you look at as comics in relations to movies only, then all there will be are films that don't move. And I think, and this, let's take The Boys for example. Now, I've heard things about the source material of The Boys, and people say that the adaptation is not better than the comic, and that's because they changed a lot of stuff. And I feel the same way about Fight Club. The book is good, the movie is, I think the movie is better, and it wouldn't have got been better had they not really.
Taken their own things and actually respect the source material and but actually gone their own direction.
Well, yeah, they do respect the social, but yes, they do go their own direction. And they also made a comic called Fight Club 2, which follows the book, which follows the movie ending. because the book ending is different. And
Mm.
I don't think that comic would have been made. I haven't read much of it, but I don't think that comic would have been made had people only thought of it in that way. And like with Mary Jane, like you can say, "Oh, I like this Mary Jane more than like that Mary Jane," but they're still basically different characters because they exist in different comics because they are their own thing. You can compare them, but you can't. Oh, but you can't. But your reading experience should not only be in relation to the what you know. You gotta at least think a little bit differently when you're exposed to a different version of the same thing. And that's the thing with video game adaptations as well. You know, change enough things so that they can work in their own mediums because that's what games do as well.
Yeah.
And which is why if you were to make a Bioshock movie or make a Dark Souls series, you can't only think of it in relation to its source material. Despite how much I do feel that you should respect source material, but I think you shouldn't only do that.
True. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here. Um, but yeah, it's such interesting conversation, dude. Such an interesting conversation.
So
I
maybe
do
I should write this
100%.
Dark Souls series.
Dude, I feel like you should. You should definitely write this Dark Souls series. But if it doesn't get like, if it will also allow you to write something that you know from and kind of write like a video game adaptation. But if it doesn't work out, then you can always come take it and make your own stuff out of it. Like make a South African, I don't know, story of something similar to Dark Souls or whatnot.
I would like to make like some sort of
Like
South African story,
with
like Geiger's
Zulus,
Odyssey,
like with the Zulu tribes, and they have to defeat Shaka Zulu or something like that, or some Zulu
You
warrior or something. I
you
don't
want
know.
you want to make an historical figure the final boss.
Yeah, I will. The final boss is Shaka Zulu. You have to go in and defeat
Imagine
him.
your
Imagine that. Imagine
you
that.
fight his armies, then you fight him.
And you exactly.
Although I do think I do like the idea of an Odyssey, like as a I would like to write something where almost like a South African Odyssey. I had this idea which I don't know how I would write it, but if you guys can write it, if you guys want to write it, I'll just give it to you because well, ideas don't mean a damn thing unless they're executed.
Mm.
It would basically be a story about like a group of kids who are on their way to the beach, but this is either during apartheid or it's just like kids in impoverished areas. You know, they have some crappy home lives, and you know they and going to the beach is like a big thing would be a big thing for them because maybe they haven't been to the beach before or they're too poor to go to just take a train and go there. So their home lives are bad and
boys.
you know they're scrutinized and made fun of or just aren't treated
Hey,
well on their
Buster! Thank you for the biddies. Hello, hello. How are you? Are you good? Are you fine? You want to give your opinion on this topic that we're speaking about? Sorry, I had to disturb you there. Hey, Buster gave us some biddies there.
That's cool. So the whole story would just be about how these kids are on their way to the beach. You know, maybe they're like a group of kids from Kalicha or something, and
the whole story
going on
goes
foot.
to that they're trekking on 2 foot on and going on an adventure to get to like the beach. That's actually an interesting story.
Yeah, I don't know how to write that though. It's not something I can just write now because I need more in perspective, maybe.
You should just write it. I'm just telling you, just write it.
Okay.
Just write it. It will
it-
never harm you to write it.
I guess. So, could everyone in chat just say like what IP or what games you actually think either would make good movies or would you like to see adapted into some sort of movie or series?
Please, we would like to hear your
it's never gonna
opinion.
happen. For me, it's gonna be Bioshock 1, Dark Souls, and I'm gonna have some tough time thinking of more, but those are what I can think of on the spot now. What about you, dude? Do you have any?
Bioshock Infinite needs to be a movie. Definitely. I love the twist in the Bioshock series that oh my word, where the time traveling and then you realize that it's an alternate universe and all that stuff. I'm gonna spoil the game, so if you haven't played the game, but I'm gonna have to talk about it. But in the Bioshock game, when you figure out that you are the villain at the end and you lost your daughter, and that's why you're like, and the lady that you're trying to protect is your daughter, but dude, it's so messed up, but it's really good. So that needs to be a movie. I do think what else can be a movie that is
Honestly, I think Control would be an okay movie that
Control?
is because that is more about because that is more about like the story itself rather than just agency. Because the character itself, Jessie, she is her own character. She does speak in
Mm,
dialogue. It's not just like it's not just like a silent protagonist which you project onto. So I think that would make a fine story. At least on the face value, it would be very trippy. But we've had trippy movies before, like another Christopher Nolan. It could be another movie made by
made
Christopher
by
Nolan.
exactly. Exactly. But yeah, those are my games that I feel like that could be adapted into a video game. They could make a Warframe movie, but it has to be
I think
animated.
Warframe would be a better
Yes,
series.
yeah, I think also Warframe would be a better series. There's so many ways you can go with the Warframe movie, or Warframe series, where each like I followed the story of the Warframe and stuff, but like you could have different episodes could be different chapters in the Warframe game. I mean, not different episodes, different seasons could be different chapters in the Warframe game, which is interesting. Is something that
Maybe
I
I think maybe if they had to have a series of Warframe, though, do you think they'd have to like have the twist actually be known like from the beginning, like what the Warframes actually are?
um I I don't know. I don't know.
Like actually have
That
the first
yeah, I'm
episode be
think
called Second
yeah,
Dream.
the first episode be like yeah, called the second dream, and then or because the way that the game starts is you start off as a you start off
You
in the
are
war.
Warframe.
Yeah, you are a frame. So I mean, if I'm thinking about it in a story base, it starts off in the middle of the battle. You are a frame. You go out. You fight your way out of this captive place, and then like I can still go with a movie that I don't know about it in the beginning, and I don't know where everything's going, and I'm just there, and then I'm already being thrown into the action. But then as the story progresses, like okay, cutting out all the missions that you have to do and stuff, like you have to find the ship, and then you have to get into the ship, and then you like get your weapons. I do think the problem will come when like you need more time with Lotus as a character, because she's essentially your mentor. Then you need to go into like then you need to go in to find what like what after you go with Lotus. There's a second part of the story. Lava Pancakes, help me out here, because you find
Um,
or and you Ethan, if you can help
maybe.
me out, you
Well, has the story even concluded past the point? Because I
because
think
I'm
I
think
never played
yeah
Beyond the Wall Within, so I don't know if they actually concluded the story about like what happened to the Lotus after she left.
yeah.
I do
I
think that
also
if you
don't,
want to
but
portray the Lotus, maybe make her like a Gandalf character where she's mythical. You only meet her a few times, but oftentimes
but
You aren't
she's
commuting
already
with her
such a
all the
she's
time.
already such a strong factor in the Warframe story.
No, she is, but like you don't meet her like face to face all the time. Is what I'm saying.
True. But again, I do think that if a Warframe movie had to happen, you want to have that twist um of Lotus betraying. You want to how do I say? You want to have her
You want to
like
have her as a likable
yeah, you
character, so
want to
that the
have a
portrayal
like so
feels
yes. So the betrayal is a bit harsher because Lotus is your mother. You want to have that big mother betrayal, and then the season,
faithful.
the first season would end off with that betrayal, and then we go into the second season. But the only thing is the story in between. That's what I'm kind of a little bit iffy on, because there's so many things that you do in the Warframe story in between. So what do you cut out? What do you put in?
I
Do you
do
cut
have one.
out? Do you cut out?
You see, there's a main storyline through it. Like some Grenier bosses, they're just bosses that are fit their own like little branch of the story, but they aren't like from the linear storyline. So you cut all that out, make it a linear factor, and in terms of upgrading the Warframe, you stick with the whole Excalibur Umbral timeline. That's still part of the main
You
story.
that
But before that, like when
yeah.
it comes to actually upgrading your stuff, it would be more like a linear progression. Like in, let's say, Adventure Time, Finn gets his first sword, then he gets his other sword after that. Then he gets
Mm.
his red sword. Then he gets his grass sword. Then he gets his fin sword. So you kind of make that linear,
So you
and
want, yeah.
then he gets Excalibur Umbra. Like after the second Dream thing, then he gets Umbra. Then he sticks with Umbra until the rest of the series.
Hmm.
That's
Interesting.
what I'm thinking at least.
Lava Pancake is spitting us with some wisdom. Come. You want to read that for us, Ethan?
Yeah, she says, to help you understand, we find out that she was lying and pretending to be someone else, so we start to see who she really was. That is kind of what I'm stood by. I guess that would actually, based on what I remember, that would be kind of different to the Lotus's betrayal because I think Lotus was completely honest. It was her intentions that were blinded, but
Mm.
I think this, I guess maybe this would play better in a series format when she was lying about about her person itself, even though in the game she was just lying about her purpose. But yeah, she'd be lying about who she is. And in the last one, she says they're only starting to show us what's happening with her. The next story should be about the new war. Yeah, they're taking. I don't play the game anymore, but they're taking really long with the story now. No, in terms of the Lotus part of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm only waiting for the Lotus story to continue for me to jump back into Warframe. And
Oh,
also,
another thing we cut out the open worlds.
yes,
Don't
that's what
cut
I'm.
that out.
That's but again, some of yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can have characters from the open world interact with the main story, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you have like who what frame do you follow? Are we the main character of the frame? Or is the audience going to be the main character of the Warframe? Do we like
Oh,
again is
do it like an actual game itself, where the Warframe is just a silent protagonist until the second war. Sorry, the second Dream. Like you play like Excalibur because he's like the mascot of the game. Have Excalibur as a silent protagonist, and then actually introduce a character like once we get this whole thing going.
so again taking what you said, what if we turn it into a mini series then? I mean, what if we turn it into a spin-off? Like take a spin-off from Warframe where instead of following the whole story and you have elements of the main story, but it's essentially just going to be a lot of
Dude,
side quests and by
dude,
wait, I know you're having a nerdgasm.
I'm having a brain
Wait,
explosion.
wait, wait,
It's
wait,
an origin
wait,
story.
wait! Shut up! 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 Shut
Okay,
up!
go on.
Shut up! I'm
Go on.
trying to finish. Let me finish. So by following the side stories, it kind of all the side stories kind of fit together and make up one massive like will kind of fill in and make the main story. So what I'm thinking is something like you have Tales of the Plains of Eidolon, and then you have like in the Plains of Eidolon, then they explain to you the Grineer, and they give you the war and how the war frames and all that stuff, and then they give you like the Eidolon stories, and then by giving you the Eidolon stories, they give you the Eidolon stories and the Warframe that was there. I don't know, there's a certain Warframe. Then they give you the story of Excalibur, and they're like, okay, this is the Excalibur Warframe. This is what happened, and this is the story behind it. And by each different story will kind of feed in, and like at the end they'll have like a type of end credit scene or something like that kind of feeds into the the main story, which is Lotus betraying, you know.
Okay, I
That's what
got
I
two
was
things.
saying. Something similar to that, where it's like broken up into small individual chunks, but those chunks feed into the main stories. I mean, if someone had to take this opportunity and make it actually something good, they would have to like truly understand the story and truly find the niche way that they will be able to do it. Because
Okay, I got three things to say about
yeah,
that. Like, okay, so actually, not three things, three possibilities for how this whole thing could go. Firstly, what you said, it's kind of like an episodic thing, almost like an anthology series. They all lead into each other. Correct me if I'm wrong.
mm,
Okay. The second one, it would be kind of like that Final Fantasy 15 movie, the Kingslayer, I think it was called, or where that was just like it led into the story and told the story about Noctis's dad. And three, um, and then there's a third option. It could actually be a story that follows the origin, like how the Lotus and that other person found all the kids and took them onto that ship.
yeah,
Oh, actually, there's a second origin story. You could tell the origin story of Umbra and integrate it into the story about them with the kids and the making of the Warframes. So Warframe, the series or movie could be an origin story. It could be a tales from. It could
The
be a
Warframe.
tales from the Lotus Thing, or it could be
Ooh.
like the Final Fantasy 15 Kingslayer movie.
Ooh.
What do you
Oh.
think works best? An origin
Oh.
story,
They should
tales from the
they should
Lotus,
hire
or
us to make a I don't even know. I think I'm more inclined to watching an anthology series, to be honest.
so tales
Um
from the
so
Lotus?
tales from how would the title be? Tales from the Plains of Eidolon. Then you have
Mhm.
tales from what is this place? Tales from Fortuna. And then you have um 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 then you have Excalibur Umbra story. Like after I feel like after it goes into anthology series, then it should slowly seep into becoming a like like slowly seep out of the anthology and into a normal series, like where they have 3 or 4 episodes dedicated to telling the story of Excalibur Umbra, or have something linking, like you have Lotus narrating the story, right? We have Lotus narrating the main story, and then from that you get what would you call this? Then you have this underlying main character who's been speaking this whole time, and then she turns evil, and then you kind of see that. I don't know. My mind.
What the narrator becomes evil.
Yeah, the narrator.
That's
No,
pretty
well,
cool.
yeah, like Lotus is becoming evil, but then now Lotus is no longer narrating the Excalibur
Like
Umbra
in each
story.
episode, her voice becomes a bit deeper.
Well, no, let's not go that deep. But like for the Excalibur Umbra story, she's no longer narrating, but she's actually acting in it, and then you see that she's evil. You know, we were this kind, loving voice has been straying us away, and I don't know, dude. It's just I don't know. Lava pancakes. What do you think? Since you're a avid um Warframe
Does he
fan,
still play that grindy ass game?
dude. But yeah, I don't know what would your opinions be, and anyone in chat who has a video game adaptation that we should think about and look at. If you guys do have something similar and along the lines of that, please let us know. Um, so that we can actually talk about this and nerd about it as we have been doing at this very moment. Um,
In our next podcast, do you want us to like actually have like a brainstorming session of some IP, like we adapt the Bleed sequel, or we make or we try to write a Warframe TV pilot or something? Do you want to do that at like in one of these
actually, do
things?
you guys actually want to do that? We turned, but this means that we'll have to put a little bit more effort. Okay, yeah, we'll have to put a little bit more effort into this. We'll have screen recordings and all that. After I come back from my set, I will take a little bit of a break from this Inktober and actually bring you guys the ability, like this idea that we've thought about, how we've actually can take the bleed. I mean, the like any adaptations that you guys are keen on, or that you guys kind of enjoy and would love, and we will kind of adapt it and try make a pilot episode as best as we can
You know,
from
I was
the
just
from the
thinking. Oh, sorry, go on.
yeah, no, I'm just saying from what we've learned. I mean, we're out of film school now. We might as well take our abilities and talents and put them into something. So yeah.
Lava Pancakes makes a good point about like maybe have orders, maybe have the memory of Lotus once she actually leaves, like in the actual game. Um, let's for a moment. What about a God of War thing?
Oh
I do
my
think that the
word!
another reason that it's so difficult to adapt a video game into a movie is because because games are meant to be long and meant to keep you engaged for a long time.
Mm.
Everyone has like an amount of bosses that you got to kill. So which is why it'd be weird if you had a Devil May Cry film. Like I haven't seen the
How
anime of it,
many?
but
Yeah, how many bosses do you have to kill in Devil May Cry?
I don't know, but a lot. And I do think that in God of War probably would work better as a series because again bosses. You can't fight 10 gods in like a single in 90 minutes because that everything will feel too cramped. But of course, like which is why in the Dark Souls game, like the Dark Souls series I mentioned, I was gonna say this there as well. Like you'd have to omit a lot of the bosses, and I would have each episode dedicated to one boss most likely, or throughout each stretch. Like episode 10 or episode 9 would be where they just fight Ornstein and Smo, and
Mm.
so in God of War, like you could do the same thing. Have each episode related to one god you could kill.
Mm.
And some episodes between would obviously you wouldn't have to kill anyone, but the idea is that yeah, in this episode I'm gonna kill Poseidon. In this one, I'm finally gonna kill Ares. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like again, God of War can be a very good mini series. It can be one of. It can actually be adapted into a very good mini series. Um,
I
yo,
like this. Let's
guys.
do another one. Let's do another one.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Chat has to help us. Come on, give us some good video games movie like that could be adapted into miniseries. Because I'm really
Dude,
keen.
yeah, I think at some point, like they said, they're going to make a Borderlands movie. I'm not sure I'm keen on that existing. I'm not sure it could really work because I think you'd end up having to change too much, a little too much for it to actually be enjoyable. Like it's similar with the whole Monster Hunter thing because the whole thing about like wanting to make a playing Borderlands is the loot game, and especially with where the story is going, I'm not so sure it would work because I think a Borderlands movie would just feel like Mad Max but with aliens, and I'm not so sure
I
I want
just
to
feel
see
like
that.
Mad Max but with aliens. Lol.
Yeah, I really don't think I'd like to see that.
Mad Max with aliens.
Oh,
It
oh, the
sounds it
time
sounds like it would be
Borderlands.
funny. It would sounds like it would be funny. Anyways, I feel like we should end the podcast. That this has actually been really amazing. Um, but I'd like to say thank you to everyone that's joined us. We are going to end this podcast. If you guys would like to stick around, I am going to stream after this, so I'll be putting us into the be right back phase, and then I'll come back with my regularly scheduled content of Inktober. For the films of the week, we have, and these are some good films. These are some good ones. The first one we have is The Hateful Eight. Now, I personally like The Hateful Eight. I don't know about you, Ethan. You said you don't. You
I
weren't a
didn't
big
like it the
fan.
first time round. I was more. I liked it better upon second viewing, but it still has some. It still has some issues.
Okay, so we have The Hateful Eight. We have Death Proof. Two Quentin Tarantino films. I just felt like since from the last podcast we spoke a little bit about Quentin Tarantino, but we didn't add a lot of his films. So if you were here in the last podcast, and you want to know what we spoke about Quentin Tarantino, go check out the YouTube, and you will be able to get all caught up. But Death Proof and Hateful Eight, and then we have Us, which is Jordan Peele movie. I think this movie speaks for itself. If you haven't watched it, and since it's October and Spooktober and whatnot, this is a very nice thriller movie that you can just watch. And also Death Proof. I think Death Proof's also a very nice thriller movie that you can watch. But
Can I be honest, man?
uh-huh.
I didn't like Death Proof.
I know you didn't. You said it in the last podcast. You
Uh,
said it with I liked it. I like Death Proof. Even though the story is like a bit iffy and doesn't run nicely, I still liked it. It has a special place in my heart. I feel like it's a really good movie. And you know what? And the reason why it has a special place in my heart is because Quentin Tarantino himself said that he knows he got negative reactions of the film, but he still likes it because it's his favorite film. And I'm like, yeah, I also still like this film because you like it and it's your favorite film and you don't care what people saying. Yeah, that's why I like it as well.
right. Before we do sign off, I just want to check out this last thing that Lava said. She said she's not too keen on a Borderlands movie. Maybe because it's probably live action. Yeah, that's another thing as well. Maybe a Borderlands movie should in fact be animated, like it is in the game itself. Although I won't be on board with it if they don't use the same writers from Borderlands 2 and
They don't
the
use the same right.
pre-sequel. Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel. Okay, I don't care if they use the writers from Borderlands 3. I'm not interested. I'm really not.
But I mean, yeah.
All right. Anyway, guys, thanks again
Thank
for
you.
listening in on our podcast, which we host every
Thank you
Friday.
everyone for joining us. It's been